And good evening, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Current Events on Tap, a podcast brought to you by the Alex Kirsch Project, where, like the drinks, the current events are on the house. And I'm your host, Alex Kirsch, pragmatic progressive, U.S. Army veteran, truck driver, gamer, and streamer. If this is your first time on the show, please do not forget to hit like, share, and comment, and subscribe. We are currently streaming live on YouTube, Twitch, and the X platform. The format of the show is very simple. I bring one or more guests onto the show. We talk beer or beverage of choice and the current events of the week. Each person will discuss their beverage of choice for this hour, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic, it does not matter. Then each person will cover two current events of their choosing. They give the current event, give their assessment, then each person gets a chance to give their assessment, and then we're going to discuss it. Now, debate may be possible, but rest assured, you are in a good faith zone. You will get your chance to get your point across. The point of this space is for all of us to discuss the issues, what we think of it, and keep an open mind on what the other person has to say. But please remember to keep it within TOS. Now, without further ado, let's welcome our guest this evening, Cypher Report, also known as Anthony. How's it going, man?
Hey, how you doing, Alex? Thank you for inviting me. I'm doing all right.
Absolutely fantastic. Want to go ahead and give a little bit background on yourself and tell people where they can find you, like your social media plugs?
Sure. Yeah, so everybody, my name is Anthony, aka Cypher. I used to stream, but I produce content under the moniker of Cypher Report. You can find that on YouTube primarily, but there's also podcast, Twitch, Twitter, not Twitter. Well, you can find me on Twitter, but TikTok and all that stuff. So that's where you can find me. Trying to do not necessarily video essays, but not necessarily current events, somewhere in between. So one of the episodes we're working on right now is the TikTok stuff. Trying to go in and do all the research we can to expose what is going on with TikTok and what their actual thing is. So if that's something you wanted interested in, Cypher Report tries to give you the tools, information analysis you need to decrypt the world, and that's what we do.
Fantastic. Yeah, and for those interested, I actually dropped all of his links in the description below. So feel free to go and show this guy some love. Hit like, share, and subscribe to his format as well. So before we go into our current events, let's go ahead and talk about our beverages for the evening. So go ahead, Anthony, what you got for this evening?
Yeah, so you're not going to be able to see it too well, but I'm drinking what is known as Buddha. I guess it's kind of like a cross between like a Mexican lager and a Heineken. It's more closer to Heineken or whatever. The bottle is green. I'm using a green screen, but it's in the shape of a Buddha. And it's not bad. I bought it on a whim. Like, let me try that, and it's pretty good. Fantastic.
Yeah, I've had that before too. It's actually not bad. It's I would say it's close to Heineken. I usually like Heinekens, but I feel bloated after drinking those though. So that's why I usually don't drink those as much anymore. But tonight what I'm drinking is I am drinking Big Deal Brewing, which is brewed by the same people that do Labatt Blue essentially. I saw that and I was kind of interested. Labatt Blue I'm not a very big fan of. But this one, it's not bad. It's actually a golden ale, and I'm a big fan of golden ales. Okay. I think they're really good. My all-time favorite beer is Hofbrauhaus Original, because I've actually had a Hofbrauhaus, in the Hofbrauhaus in Munich, and it is chef's kiss, top of the line kind of beer. I say this all the time, but I rate a beer based upon if I could drink it cold or at room temperature. That's how I determine a good beer essentially, and. Beer like this, I don't know if I've never drank at room temperature because I just tried it just this week, so it's hard to say. But when it comes down to beers or other beverages, what do you usually drink? Are you more of a beer or a whiskey kind of guy?
Yeah, I like gin when it comes to alcohol, when it comes to liquor. So gin, rum is good. I'm not too much of a whiskey person. When it comes to beer, it's going to be British lagers, so things from the UK or Scotland or Ireland. Red ales are pretty nice, but generally speaking, in the US, I'm drinking something like a Mexican lager, so a Dos Equis, a Modelo, or something like that.
Yep. Have you ever had Smithwick's before, or Smithwick's?
It doesn't even sound familiar, so I don't.
It's a red ale from Ireland. It is fantastic. It's definitely a top tier kind of beer of myself. Have you ever had Boddington's?
Maybe that sounds familiar, but I'm pretty open to trying new things. So if I tried it, I've tried something else since then. So
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'm kind of if I see a beer that looks interesting, I'm gonna try it. There's some beers that I will not drink, like some lagers I will not drink, like Red Stripe. I've had that on tap in Jamaica. It's horrendous. I can't do it. It's horrible. So
interesting.
Yeah. So you ready to go into current events?
Sure.
All right.
Get started.
All right. So the first topic. So A British court ruled on Tuesday that Julian Assange, the co-founder of WikiLeaks, which was formed in 2006, that Julian Assange will not be extradited to the United States unless the United States guarantees that he will not be given the death penalty. Now, let's give a little context as to why the United States wants Julian Assange extradited back to the United States. Out of one of many reasons, I'm just going to hit on the two that are the biggest right now. Julian Assange has a history of leaking war footage from the theater of Iraq of American helicopter pilots, such as like the helicopter pilots that opened fire on a group of alleged insurgent forces. But apparently the crowd consisted of journalists that were from Reuters, who were killed in this attack from the helicopters in 2000 city in the capital city of Baghdad. Now, this is one of many cases to which documents were leaked that showed approximately 66,000 civilians were killed by the U.S. military during the Iraq War. Now, there are those who have also leaked such information, like Intel analyst Chelsea Manning, who was found guilty, was sentenced between, I think, 20 to 30 years in prison, who then had the sentence commuted by former President Obama right before he left office, but also leaked classified material that showed supposed war crimes. Now, U.S. authorities have believed that Assange's actions have led to the naming of individuals in both the Iraq and Afghanistan theater, and it put their lives at risk. Now, he's also facing 18 charges of breaking into military bases and stealing sensitive information. Now, as someone who deployed in both support of both Operation Iraqi Freedom and Enduring Freedom, I can attest the war crimes did happen. I will not deny it didn't happen. To say that U.S. has not committed any war crimes is either dishonest or just flat out ignorant. We have seen these war crimes. They have been reported upon. Now, the question is, how many war crimes do people not know about, right? Now, Amnesty International believes that Julian Assange leaking this information, it's no different than a journalist that's just doing their duty to keep the public informed. Now, even Jerry Conlon, who was illegally imprisoned for 15 years for a crime he did not commit. Are you familiar with the movie In the Name of the Father?
I am not.
It's basically a story about the Guilford Four, who were accused of being associated with the IRA and bombing like a bar in Guilford, and they were sentenced to 15 years. Actually, they were sentenced for years in prison, like life without the possibility of parole. But they spent 15 years in prison for crimes they never committed. And as a matter of fact, the prosecution even withheld information that could have, set them free, essentially. But, long story short, even he believed that Julian Assange shows what governments allow people to do, essentially, what allow them to get away with it. Now, when we see Russia in Ukraine committing war crimes, we denounce it, we despise it, we say, how awful, this is a horrible thing. And and people wonder, why aren't we more outraged by this, right? Now, when we do it, though, people think that it actually, when we do it, it actually hurts our security. Now, as someone who thinks all war crimes need to be reported and denounced, when you steal classified material and leak it, I feel you set a dangerous precedence. It means anyone at any time can steal classified material and sell it because they object. So in these cases, do you think that the U.S. Should agree to take the death penalty off the table? What sentence should Julian get? Or should we just drop all the charges? Go ahead and let me know what you think, Anthony.
Yeah, so with this particular thing with Julian Assange, I know that a lot of people on the left find the man to be a hero, and I understand why. I don't. There's a couple of reasons for that. So this is going to color what I think should happen to Assange. First of all, collateral murder is a lie. What happened in that video was actual fog of war issues. The pilots, the helicopter pilots and the gunners were actually on mic talking about, hey, well, they look like they have weapons, but we can't shoot them until they pick up their weapons and aim it. We gotta keep this going and be things. But they're mad about it, right? You can actually hear it in their voice that they're mad about this. And then once they get their camera, which they in the video, if you see the actual video, you can't tell it's a camera. It just looks like a long thing. And they were just there were the helicopter pilots in question, and the gunners were responding to an attack against a pinned down platoon. I think it was a platoon, pinned down platoon or squad. I don't remember which. Probably squad. Sure. Pinned down squad that was actively engaged in fighting. And so as soon as they picked up the item, then they were like, we can engage and we can kill them. You can say what you want about U.S. being involved in Iraq, all that other stuff, but the way that Assange released this video was that he released the small clippet of what happened, no audio, and just was like, and in the text was like, this is a journalist picking up his camera. Look what they're doing to him. And then the DoD releases it like 2 weeks later after their investigation or during their investigation with the full audio. And it turns out it was actual fog of war stuff. People should be still held accountable because like the helicopter was very off course. They were I think they were like a mile or so away from where the people were actually engaged, and that was because of I don't remember the exact reason what it was. I don't remember if it was they were told to go to the wrong area or they saw groups of people moving to that area and are like, oh, it's them. Something like that happened. So that's one thing. So that makes him not necessarily just a journalist, but a political actor, right? Because he knew they had the actual information that was released. They had the actual audio. They chose not to do it to shape a narrative. All right.
Sure.
And what Assange is actually Assange is being charged with is helping Manning take the classified information out of secret facilities. Not only and giving material help to do so. So telling them this is how you can save it. This is how you can get around the encryption. This is how you can get me that information. So and the entire time, if you look at the transcripts of what they have with the conversation between Manning and Assange or one of Assange's people that were working with him, was they were pressing Manning to do it. They were like taking and like not necessarily emotionally manipulating them to do it, but they were kind of like pushing them and like saying, "Oh, you don't have to worry about it. We'll protect you, and you're not going to get caught because we have this secret USB drive that can't do anything," like stuff like that. So with all that said, I think Assange should be held to account for this because he was actively engaged in helping to steal these government documents. It's different than receiving them. New York, a lot of people like to compare this to the Pentagon Papers that the Washington Post received during the Vietnam War. That's not what happened. They didn't just receive a leak. WikiLeaks actively engaged in helping get that information and then spreading it all over. And then with the Pentagon Papers, or at least since the Pentagon Papers, journalist outfits would go through and actually redact things that they felt was going to put other people in danger. WikiLeaks did not do this. Names, everything was just dumped to the internet. So we had interpreters getting their information dumped to the internet. We had benign conversations between diplomats getting dumped to the internet, like a bunch of stuff that just should not have happened. So Assange should be held to account. Nobody should be sentenced to death for something that doesn't. I'm against the death penalty, but that aside, anybody that is just engaged and thinks that didn't kill people directly, if they weren't directly involved in killing them, I think they shouldn't receive the death penalty at all. So this should be an easy thing for the United States to be like, yeah, that's fine, we'll take it off the table.
Sure. I'm inclined to definitely agree with you. Like the way I just let it, it's like how it's been read and like how people put it online, because I look at this as a consistency thing, right? For example, people like are you familiar with the Air Force guardsmen that leaked classified information on a Discord server? Like people are like, this guy's a hero. I was like, no, this person's not a hero, because we have to understand something. Like the reason why, like I'm all about like, war crimes actually getting engaged, but there's a process in order to do it. And Manning, being an intel analyst, knows these things. But it's just Chelsea Manning went the wrong route, and Chelsea Manning knew exactly what she was doing essentially by leaking this material. Knew the consequences, and what people need to understand is like when it comes down to reporting a war crime, there's JAG all over theater essentially. Or you could just find somebody, hey, listen, I need to report this. Now there's a good chance of blowback happening, but the thing is that's going to happen regardless. There's a process in order to declassify materials, especially within the military, and when JAG hears about this, they're going to take it seriously. I know, because in theater, people say, hey, this happened. Like, there was a point where if you fired a round, you actually had to do a sworn statement. Hey, I fired this round on this date at this time, and this is the reason why. So, and did it always happen? No.
What year was that?
It started.
You knew that happened?
2005 was when it first started.
Okay.
So
that's what I figured.
But it's just, I don't look at Julian Assange as a hero either. I just think of him as an opportunist, essentially, because
hell yeah,
because like it goes like this, right? If you're gonna report, like on war crimes, okay, fine, you're gonna report on war crimes, right? But the thing is, it's just like the process of doing it, and I look at it like, I think the way you worded it was proper. Like he just chipped it and made it look a certain way. and it really did kind of undermine us, because I've known plenty of interpreters that, like, there was a video I watched of an interpreter, getting executed by one of the militia groups. And I can only imagine, like, how many people's lives were affected because of these leaks, essentially. Now, people can have a criticism of the Iraq and Afghanistan war. That's fine. But I feel like when you put people's lives in danger, and, like, when you show these things and take it out of context, some people, they take it all at face value, essentially. And no one's going to read the headlines. No one's going to read the fine print, essentially. But again, like, if you feel like you're doing the right thing, then you have to make sure that it has to get disseminated properly, which there's levels of bureaucracy, like, just outside the way. Because I think you served, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. It was Army or...
It was Army from 2011 to 2018.
Okay, gotcha. All right. But there's a lot involved in this. I mean, it's such a complicated issue, but, like, people just... like I said, they just read the headlines. They don't, like, read anything further into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree with that. And one of the things about Assange was that when he first was on the scene, and that was before I was in the military, I was like, oh yeah, Assange might be just a journalist or whatever. And then he started asking for information about Angela Merkel.
Mm-hmm.
And Germany specifically. And this was during, I want to say there was like some small spat happening between Germany and Russia. And I'm not saying that Assange is a Russian asset. That's not what I'm saying. But this was like at a time when a lot of people were calling Merkel, like, Merkel was doing a lot of good work internationally, a lot of good work diplomatically. Like, she was trying to navigate a bunch of different stuff. I was like, yeah, so Merkel was like what you would want in a German chancellor, German prime minister, or chancellor?
Yeah,
whichever.
Chancellor, yeah.
Chancellor, yeah. So, and he was like, Julian Assange was like, yeah, I don't care. I want to see her go down. And I'm like, wait, why do you want to see Merkel go down? And then I started investigating Assange more. And he was one of those people who just didn't like the global system at all. And he wants to see it go away. And that's the WikiLeaks exist in the way it does, and why he had so much control, operation control over it, and why a lot of people in his orbit started to leave and set up their own WikiLeaks-like sites with more journalistic controls on them, because they're like, Assange was a political actor.
Absolutely. And that guy pretty much stayed off the grid. Like, he didn't have an actual place of residence. He just pretty much stayed mobile the whole time, because he didn't want to get, like, locked in and stuff like that. The guy knew what he was doing, essentially. And the reason why I consistently say that, like, the guy is just an activist, he's just an opportunist, is because, I tried looking up to see, like, if there was any other countries that have, like, human rights violations. I didn't see any of the one target that he had was, like, just Germany, but, like, the United States. I couldn't see any other countries that he seemed to be targeting, essentially.
Yeah. A lot of the information was being curated, from my opinion. Very much anti-Western, because he doesn't, like I said, he doesn't like the global system that we live in. Whether that means he's supportive of Russia or anything else, I can't know that. I don't know what's in the man's mind. I just know what he releases and the things that he said, and that's what he said. He doesn't like the current system, and he wants to see it go down.
Yep, and that's why it's interesting, because, like, I know when the last guy was in office, people were like, "You should pardon Julian Assange." I'm like, no, absolutely not.
It was really funny that a lot of people are like, President Trump is like anti-establishment and wants to do all this stuff, and he really should, like, just show us that, and, like, he's the person that's going to pardon Assange. I'm like, are you reading Trump right at all? Like, little lefties out there that are saying this? Are you kidding me? Come on.
Yeah. When Chelsea Manning was had their sentence commuted, what was your thoughts about that?
I didn't mind it. I feel like the Manning actually, like, owed up to everything that she did. Mm-hmm. She's still, like, political activist or whatever. That's fine.
Sure.
I don't have any really ill will towards Manning.
No, sure.
It's just like, she actually, like, faced consequences,
mm-hmm.
and I'm not one of those people that are like, a person should just rot in prison.
Mm-hmm.
If they've shown that they've, like, reformed or gone through some, like, super horrid shit, which she did while in prison.
Mm-hmm.
Because her detainment was not done in a manner that was good, and
Mm-hmm.
with interrogations and things like that. I think that should be taken into account, and things should be done. Is she sorry that she did it? No, she's not. There's no reason that anybody should
No.
suspect that she would be. But I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. She still did what, 9 years?
It's like 8 or 9
Something like
years,
that.
something like that. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll look it up really quick just because I'm curious. But yeah,
Yeah.
so at that point, it's just like, yeah, you serve your time.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't see too much of Chelsea Manning nowadays. I don't like actively search for what she's up to these days. But like the reason why I bring cases like this up is because it's all about like that consistency, right? If you can justify one person doing it, then I feel like anybody can do it at that point if you justify one person doing it. But like I said, Manning was an intel analyst. She knew what the process was to declassify things, and I understand the motivation. And do I feel like, maybe she felt like something was wrong? Possibly, because like there are stories of like soldiers doing horrific things in war. I mean, it's just I'm just gonna call it for what it is, and stuff like that needs to be denounced. I'm not saying all of us were fucking horrible people, because that's not the case. I'm never gonna make that argument. I just want us to focus that like people do some fucked up shit downrange, and I wasn't like witness to any of that stuff like that, but like I just know it took place. But it's just, again, if it happened, a process needs to be undertaken, and that means like we need to be transparent with it. It looks worse for us if we try to cover shit like this up. I mean, I'm sure you can agree with that.
Yeah.
So absolutely, but it's just I really don't think people should create make Julian Assange a hero, because I don't think he is. Sort of like I don't think Edward Snowden's necessarily a hero. I think he basically pretty much exposed something that a lot of us already knew, essentially. But I think, what's amazing is like, you ever watch Last Week Tonight with John Oliver?
Yeah, religiously.
Yeah, I love his show. But like, I remember when he went to Russia and interviewed Edward Snowden, and Snowden was like, "Hopefully, people remember me." And half of America's like, "Who's Edward Snowden?" It's just like, just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
But no, like I
No,
like this. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah, for Snowden's thing, I think Snowden did it like somewhat correctly.
Mm-hmm.
There's conflicting reports about what he tried to do with releasing information internally.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure exactly what he did there. But he went to legitimate journalists. He didn't go to WikiLeaks because he knew WikiLeaks would just dump everything.
Sure.
And he was bargaining. There was some stuff that he was doing that would have been like, I'll give you this information if you give me asylum, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, he's not the reason why. Well, he is the reason why, but really the reason why everything got dumped and exposed in the way that it did is because Greenwald decided to do it. Because Greenwald got pissed off. I don't remember exactly what triggered Greenwald to just be like, fuck it, and hit the dump switch. But he's the reason why it did it. And all the Guardian journalist and then the consortium of journalists that were like kind of like gathered afterwards to like go through the stuff, they didn't release everything. It was just Greenwald. So
yeah. But do you think like Edward Snowden or will ever return to the United States? You think?
No, I think he's a prisoner of Russia right now, and he's never going to leave.
Yeah,
I think
probably.
He's a political tool. No one's trying to get him back. He's got some autonomy in Russia.
Yep.
There's no reason for him to leave.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yep. What are the chances of Julian Assange ever coming to the United States? And do you think like people would try to like because people are saying that like if he comes to the United States, that the United States is going to find a way to like oops, he had an accident. I'm sorry.
I don't think people got too much conspiracy brain, man. I don't think that's going to happen. It would be too obvious.
Yeah.
Also, Julian Assange, given his 8 years in the Ecuadorian embassy, was it 8? At least 8 years in the Ecuadorian embassy. He kind of went insane.
Yeah.
And I'm not laughing at the man. Like, I'm just mean like it's so ridiculous how much unwelcomed he was after a point because of his being cooped up in there.
Oh yeah.
If he were to just like die, it wouldn't surprise me if he did it himself. Like he's not mentally well. At the time that I remember seeing this, he was not mentally well. Whether he's mentally well now or not is a different question. I don't know. But sure. Yeah, I just don't think he would get assassinated. Or killed. There's no reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't do anybody any good. Like it would just be a dumb decision. There's smart decisions and dumb decisions. Killing Assange is a dumb decision. All his stuff is going to get instantly released as soon as he dies. This isn't a Epstein issue, which we can talk about differently. But this isn't like one of those situations where you kill Julian Assange, the kill switch gets engaged. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't do anything. So
yeah. Probably martyred him or something like that. But yeah, I think he's too high profile.
Yeah,
but regardless, like
sure.
we could literally like see him like on television, like trip and fall and like break his neck, and people still say, "Oh my God, they put that stone there for him to trip on."
They totally would. Oh no, he didn't actually trip; he got shanked in the back. Yep. See, that's why he like doubled over like this.
Yeah, but we'll get into some more conspiracies about like my next topic. But you want to go ahead and move on to your topic?
Sure. Which one do we? Does it matter? I guess.
You can whatever order you want to go in.
Okay, yeah, I'll save the Trump one for last. So, I didn't really like prepare an opening for it, but sure. Rona McDonald, the former RNC chair, the one that was RNC chair during half of Trump's administration.
Yep.
She was offered a job on MSNBC, and then that rubbed people the wrong way too much at MSNBC, and then so they were going to hire her as a consultant, former Republican turned, I guess, kind of good person. I don't know what NBC was thinking, but they were going to hire NBC proper. And a lot of people, a lot of liberals, some lefties just kind of laughed, but a lot of liberals were really pissed off that NBC was going to do this. They couldn't believe that they would platform an election denialist, conspiracy theory promoting Trump sycophant to serve on NBC's like various news programs, right? And so they're like, oh, this is really messed up. And one of the other things that was super messed up with this is that she had been offered a job like 2 days or a week maybe before she was on one of the I think it was either Meet the Press or I don't remember which program it exactly was, but it was one of the bigger NBC programs, and was given a actual interview. Like a legit interview, like asked all these questions, right? And then answered them in a way that was kind of what you would expect a person that wants to keep a job at NBC would do. Like, oh, I only had to say that because I was part of the RNC. I was the RNC chair. We had to walk the Trump line because that was the Republican line. And now that I'm free, I can do stuff more easily. I can be more truthful. And the person that interviewed her didn't know that she had been offered a job. So she was put in this really messed up spot, right? Because the interview is going to get edited, it's going to get cut down or whatever. And so you can't if she had known the questions might have been different, maybe she wouldn't have agreed to even interview Rona because, it might make her reputation look bad. And it's kind of a person trying to launder the reputation, all this other stuff. And so there was a kind of mutiny at NBC. Chuck Todd from Meet the Press, laid into NBC Universal really badly. A bunch of other journalists wrote letters and stuff to them. And so Ronna McDonald got her offer from MSNBC and NBC News rescinded. And it was 4 days, 4 days from the announcement, something ridiculous, right? And so Scaramucci went on Twitter. He's like, "Hey, y'all, as a former person that's been through this, we're going to see how many Scaramucci she gets." And he's like, "We're going to be charitable. We're going to round it up." So if she got 0.3 Scaramucci's, that's how long she lasted. Yep. And it was great. But this kind of the reason I wanted to talk about this is because it kind of just shows how, I guess, incestuous kind of media is with party officials. They're doing this, they're doing this for access. I don't know what Ronna McDonald's access is still at the Republican Party. I don't know what NBC News was hoping to get from her, but it was a job offer in order to get some sort of access, some sort of insight. Maybe they would pay her and she would be like, "Well, I actually didn't believe all those things. And there's some Republicans that still don't. Let me launder their reputation, right? Let me tell you what the truth of these people are. They hate Trump." Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But it wouldn't work But at the same time, they thought it would. So I just don't know. What are your thoughts about like how that all went down?
I thought it was hilarious that like first like we'll do this, but like oh I take that back because here's the thing, like Ronna McDaniel, the fact that she dropped the name Romney just to appease Trump says enough about her character essentially because like here's the thing, like I'm not a huge fan of Mitt Romney. I did like in 2012 I did vote for him just because I was between him and Obama. Not because I think he was going to be a great president, but because like I felt like at the time Obama wasn't doing a great job. But anyway, like, but the thing is like Mitt Romney, I feel is like one of the last remaining Republicans that actually had some principles left over, right? Like he knew that there's a certain line you do not cross. And when Trump denounced him completely, Ronna McDaniel was feeling the heat from the MAGA crowd and from Trump, and then she drops the name Romney essentially to kind of appease him, which is like, it's ludicrous to me to think that you would actually drop your name to appease one person that doesn't give a shit about you, essentially. Now, the RNC basically found a way to get rid of her, and they put in who? Laura Trump as a co-chair for the RNC, which is ridiculous. But like, but that's just like what the MAGA crowd does and believes in. Now, when she got this job, I don't know what they were thinking either. I felt like maybe they're going to try to bring somebody in that's like, hey, listen, you were on that side of the aisle. Let's bring you in so you can kind of offer some insight. You know, like you said, maybe you can like, it's kind of like, what's her face on The Five? She's like the yeah. She's like the only liberal. Tarkin.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember her name.
But like she's the only liberal talking point person, but she's actually really good at that though. Like she crushes on that all the time. I don't know if they were hoping for that. I don't know if it was just going to gather more views, because the thing is, like, let's just think about like when CNN had Caitlin Collins do that town hall with Trump. It got massive ratings. Like people were tuning in, watching it. Right? I don't know if they think Ronna McDaniel was going to bring that in there, but I just felt like, you know, Chuck Todd was like, they did you a huge disservice. Like they basically threw you under the bus. And I think it's correct because it's not the first time MSNBC has ever done something like that. MSNBC is known to bring people in and say, listen, you're doing great. We're not going to hamstring you, but look at this, fine writing. It's like you don't read the fine print down below because like when Jesse Ventura worked for MSNBC, when he was critical about the Iraq War, they said, hey, listen, you can't be critical about the Iraq War. So he left. Phil Donahue, critical about the Iraq War. Had to leave. Jag Uger came in from the Young Turks. He had a segment, but they said, hey, listen, we're going to move you to a later night slotting, essentially, but we're going to pay you some more money. And Jag Uger's like, no, I'm not going to do that. What's wrong with what I'm doing right now? It's because when MSNBC feels like you're going against a narrative, they have a problem with that, which I think is really disingenuous. So maybe they're looking for more clicks, more views, because, hey, look, we're bringing in a person that happened to be on the RNC. We're willing to hear the other side about things. I mean, that's that's the way I'm kind of looking at it.
I think you're right. I think that was probably one of their primary reasons for doing this. And, you know, rescinding the offer, it just makes it look like NBC doesn't care about Republicans. So it just like it completely backfires. And like if she was taken to task every time, it doesn't really matter. Like the Trump crowd isn't going to watch NBC or MSNBC. They're not watching that. That's MSNBC used to be somewhat center liberal to like center right a little bit. It's no longer that network. And it hasn't been that network since 2014, prior to Trump, because they can't be that network. That network wouldn't get ratings. People that have cable don't want to watch a middle of the road news program. They want to watch somebody that's going to cater to their biases. That's why Fox News has gotten worse since like 2004. That's why MSNBC has gotten worse. That's why newspapers have gotten worse, because everybody is trying to go to where their biases are. That's why, you know, certain magazines don't do very well. That's why you don't hear people sharing ProPublica, but they'll share like, I don't know, fucking Vox or Daily Kos. Mm-hmm. Like these are things that people don't want. They want to be catered to. Yeah. And putting someone like Ronna on their team just doesn't cater to them. It actually is an enigma to what those people want to hear about.
Absolutely. I you know, when people tell me I watch too much CNN or MSNBC, I'm like, I don't watch any of that stuff. I might catch a segment, but that's different though. Yeah. Because, you know, Lawrence O'Donnell, will come up with a segment and I'll watch it because I agree with him. You know, even there's people out there that will put out like probably the last person I really liked that was on MSNBC was Mehdi Hassan. I thought he was fantastic because every time he brought a guest on, he drilled them, and I was like, "That's what a journalist should be doing." Like, like I would have been okay with him bringing President Biden on, and because like that's what a journalist is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to just hold people's feet to the fire, and like you said, some mainstream media outlets don't do that. They don't do it enough. Like, okay, when Trump was in office, you had John Acosta from CNN drilling and holding Trump's feet to the fire, and Trump called him like a really nasty person, right? But then with Biden in office, you've got Peter Doocy that's holding Biden's feet to the fire, but everyone else, like some people hold his feet to the fire a little bit more, but it's like if it's a media outlet that is, if you're conservative, you're going to hold the Democrat president accountable. If you're a Republican, then you're going to have a left-leaning media outlet that's going to hold your feet to fire, and everyone else is going to be like, oh, yeah, yes, sir, because, kiss with your feet, essentially. But, like, I really would love to, and I always say this, right? I think the way mainstream media outlet needs to operate, especially, like, out on the street, is exactly how the paparazzi operates. They're in your face. You could learn everything, like, the paparazzi will tell you what Kim Kardashian ate last week, what diner, what time and place, and stuff like that. They will get you the time, hack, location, whatever. It's annoying as hell. But the thing is, you're kept informed about these things. And I'm not saying we need to go that route, but it's like that's what they do. They are parasites, essentially, but they will get you the information, and people are drawn to stuff like that. It's because we love controversy. That's why you don't hear anything like positive. It's like they go for what's selling right now, sell the sizzle, not the steak kind of deal.
Excuse me. Yeah, no, that's 100% correct. They I don't know how we get back to that with the kind of environment that we have. Like there's some weird new media organizations starting for it. They're trying to be like balanced and have former people on their staff. There's a Start With Us. Let me see if I can figure it out.
Sure.
Yeah, Start With Us news media. I don't remember exactly what they're called. Start With Us changed the coverage. I met this group. I met the CEO when I attended Texas Tribune Fest last year, and they put together a open discussion / debate with Karl Rove and Obama's guy. Oh God, I can't remember his name right now.
Was he a press secretary?
Axelrod.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
David Axelrod.
Yeah.
And the debate they had was good between the two of them, but like their backers are these like weird former Republicans, and they're thinking that there's like millions of people out there that will pay for news or will watch this stuff, and I'm just like, I don't think so, dude. I don't think the media escape is there. We're too saturated. I don't know. Maybe if you got like a cable news channel and you've got the boomers and the late Gen Xers and some of the early Gen Xers to watch it, maybe you would be able to appeal that. But I don't know, man. We all can just go to TikTok and get what we want. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible like how people inform themselves via TikTok, actually, or just like YouTube and stuff like that. I mean, I think it's because some people have a really, really bad attention span, so they don't want to like.
Yeah, sure.
They get a segment in 3-minute segments, and then boom, they got everything they know. But me, I like to kind of dive just like a little bit deeper. That's why like when I usually get my sources, I don't just check one source, but I check like multiple sources. But
sure.
like when it comes to geopolitics, the gap kind of narrows. Like there are some times like where Al Jazeera tells the story correctly. But there are times like when even they have a tendency to be a little bit biased. Reuters, our AP News, I usually go to them because they usually have a very high degree of credibility. Like other topics when it comes to other geopolitics, I mean, you have already talked about this, Redline Podcast. I love that because they bring on experts.
Wow, so good.
Yep. It's one of my favorite podcasts out there. And, Michael even told me, he's like, I'm not interesting, but I bring people on that make it interesting, which is good. And like,
yeah, with the Redline, I was there when they started. It's just wild to me because I actually had conversations on Facebook with him. He was asking me how I got my guest because he was like, "Hey, your podcast is decent. What's going on there? Yep. Like, who are these people?" I'm like, "Oh, we're just a couple of regular guys."
Yep.
But yeah, no, the Redline, I can't like anybody that's watching this like Redline. It's good stuff. Check it out, like for sure, for serious.
Did you see that him and Alex Jones went head to head?
No, when did that happen?
That happened.
Was it on Twitter?
It was on Twitter Space. They were talking about the Moscow attack. Okay. Yep. I'll send you the link when we're done here.
Yeah, definitely.
But it was great. Him and Alex Jones just button heads. It was fantastic. I told him, I was like, dude, I'm so proud of you. But anyway, we're getting off track anyway. But anyways, just like when it comes down to the mainstream media, right? I feel like Jon Stewart said it best. When it comes down to the mainstream media, it's not so much as some of them are partisan, but they are just lazy in their writing, or they're looking for what gets the most attention. They don't go for what's accurate. And I feel like that's the most accurate way to put down the mainstream media. But when people say, oh, the mainstream media is the enemy of the people, I don't think that's true. I think it's very disingenuous. No. I just feel like they go for what is going to sell. Nobody wants to talk about like something that's great. They want to go for what's controversial. They want to go for like, Jesse Ventura talked about in 2008 when he was at Ron Paul's convention when he was running for president, right? He talked about how, what's the biggest story that was going on for 1 month? The death of Anna Nicole Smith. And people like, boo. It's like, whoa. Don't blame Anna Nicole Smith. She's dead. It's like, she's got nothing to do with it. But the mainstream media, that's what they go for. I mean, that's why I think, like, tying back into the topic, it's like bringing her into MSNBC was like, they felt like, oh, she's a controversial figure. This might help us out. But everyone's like, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
No.
It's just like
100%.
Yeah, I just feel like, because she's not going to win any favor with Trump. Trump's already pretty much denounced her. And so she's not
none of his base is going to give a shit. Like, just, it's not reading the room correctly. And like this, and with the outrage stuff, that's exactly why Twitter went viral, not viral, but that's why Twitter got on to the news stations so often. Remember Sanderman, the smirk kid?
Oh yeah, Nick Sanderman.
Issue, right?
Yeah, Nick Sanderman, yeah.
So the reason that got onto the news media so quickly is because 2 million people on Twitter started to argue about it. Mm-hmm. If everybody's already arguing about it, you're going to cover it, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to do it, and you're not going to have all the facts because everybody arguing it doesn't have all the facts. You're going to be like, this kid like smirked at this guy and was defiantly banging a drum in front of. What's all that about? Let's bring on 5 other people who don't know anything about this to argue about it, like all the people on Twitter are. That way we can get all the Twitter people watching our show. And I'm just like,
it's stupidity. I mean, that got blown up for no reason at all, because what's amazing is the fact that people said, oh, this guy, this man, Nathan Phillips, is a Vietnam veteran. The guy tried to say, oh, it's infantry. Don Shipley, the guy that does Funny Navy SEAL of the Week, he outed this dude as like, this dude was a generator, like air AC mechanic. The dude didn't see any combat, but his channel got like nixed. His initial channel got nixed because of that. But like, that kid Nick Salmon did not deserve all that like hazing. He didn't do anything. He just stood there. He had a MAGA hat on, which I think is stupid, but he's free to wear that hat. But like,
he was a awkward kid that didn't know what to do in that situation. He kind of like wobbled back and forth. No one saw that video though, right? Everybody saw the video of like the zoomed in. He's like, right? Yeah. And then people went to look for evidence about their bias. So when they saw like the tomahawk chops from the kids and stuff like that, oh, they're racist. I'm like, yeah, maybe, but they're also 17. Yeah.
But it got so blown out of proportion. And I really feel like, that's absolute stupidity. But it's just like, people cling on to that. And like, this is why it's so important. It's like, if it sounds a little shady, maybe you shouldn't like jump on the bandwagon so much. I mean, Jesse Smollett's another great story. People believed his story. I was like, dude, no one's walking through Chicago in the middle of the fucking night, in the middle of winter. And I've been to Chicago multiple times. It is definitely not MAGA country, but the fact that so many people believed it, I was like, you're eating crow. I didn't believe it. I was like, I'm going to wait to see if like what more comes out of this. But like, that kind of goes back into sensationalism and the laziness that comes into it. And I really think this is the route that they're trying to go. Yeah. And it just blew up in their face. Like, no, we are not going to do this. So like, I felt like Chuck Todd was 100% correct in that, honestly.
100. I agree with you.
Yeah. Was there anything else you want to weigh in on that topic, essentially?
No, I think we're good. I think we covered everything for that particular one.
All right, fantastic. Let's go into the next topic then. Excuse me. So last Tuesday, A cargo ship, the Dolly, crashed into Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge, which was over 1.6 miles long. After losing power, the crew hailed a mayday, informed the authority that they had just lost power. So the bridge crew and emergency services scrambled to halt all the traffic as much as possible, but the cargo ship still collided with the bridge, and the bridge pretty much collapsed instantly. It took 6 workers were working on the site into the river below. Now, to give context, the cargo ship is viewed vertically. Like, if the cargo ship was viewed like vertically, it's almost as tall as the Eiffel Tower and can carry up to 10,000 standard-sized containers. Now, at the time, it was only carrying about 4,700, I think that's what the word was. Now, empty...
You're breaking up.
Oh, am I? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you roboted.
Okay. At the time, it was carrying about 4,700 containers at the time, right? Now, empty, the cargo ship weighs about 95,000 tons, which, according to my calculator, is 190 million pounds. Now, that's a heavy-ass ship, okay? This is like just straight steel, too. Now, rescue crews were dispatched immediately, and for the few days, they've been searching in vain for the missing workers. Now, sadly, the search has been called off. Now, Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg released the following statement today on Facebook. America is significantly better positioned to tackle supply chain disruptions than we were 3 years ago. The Port of Baltimore is an important economic hub, and we are already working with our labor and industry partners to manage the implications of its suspension of vessel traffic. Now, experts predict it could take anywhere from 18 months to 10 years to rebuild this bridge. Now, in confession, conspiracy theorists think this was deliberate. They speculate there is no way a cargo ship could take down a bridge this size. And you have people saying that this was an attack by China to cripple our economy and cripple our logistics part in this country. And you have social media profiles like Elijah Schaffer suggesting that the mayor of Baltimore is a DEI hire, however, he was actually voted in. Of course, we all know that. And now you got people that are blaming Biden and Pete Buttigieg for this. Now, lastly, instead of insurance from the company that owns the cargo ship paying for this outright, the U.S. government is going to fund the reconstruction of this bridge. And people are like, wait a second, why are we paying for it? Well, the answer is simple. It's because we all know insurance claims tend to take for fucking ever. And something like this, the levels of bureaucracy, it's going to take even longer. Now, Uncle Sam's got to get his money, but it is better that we go this route. The quicker we get started, the quicker Baltimore can get back on its feet. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take. They said 18 months to 10 years. I'd say it's a fairly decent estimate, especially if you're going to build a bridge that is fairly decent quality. But Anthony, what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I just think people are too conspiracy brained just in general. Like, yeah, if you just read the headline and be like, boat takes out bridge, your first thought's going to be like, oh, that's not necessarily an accident. And then you're going to go on your day, right? But as soon as you see the video, it's clear what happened. Like, the video of the ship, you see the video from like further back. The ship loses power. It comes back on because you can see the lights go on. Comes back on, and then it loses power again. And with the amount of weight that it was carrying, nothing is going to stop that ship except actual power, like generated power from its engine to maneuver and stop it. Because when you lose power, you also lose the ability to steer because everything, it's so big, like it's what you have to do. Like, there's not like a guy with a rudder fucking doing his most, like, with 6 people trying to push the rudder. No, it's all electric controlled. Mm-hmm. And so, like, of course that ship took out the bridge when it hit it. Like, it's not anything to do with like there was I don't know who made the comic. There was a comic made, a couple of them, like Build Back Better, right? And it had like Boeing's door come off, something else, and then the bridge collapse. And I'm like, come on, people! Like, this is not how this goes. Like, the ship, they tried to drop anchor, but at that point, it's too late. Like, the anchor's just gonna be taken with the inertia.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. So stupid.
It really is. I mean, I got people that I see that are like, oh my god, see, you can definitely tell it's going way too fast. Like, that's because the video is sped up, stupid. They sped the video up just to show how long it takes. But, like, what people don't understand is like, they don't stop. Like, okay, here's a good example. If you're driving your car and you stop because your car isn't going to weigh nearly as much, you could probably stop on a dime 9 times out of 10, right? In an 18-wheeler, the story's not the same, okay? As somebody that is a truck driver, I can tell you from experience, your stopping distance is increased dramatically.
Again.
Oh, am I? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, how's that now?
Give it a second.
Okay. How's that?
I think you're good.
Okay. All right. Well, in a semi, when you're pulling an 18-wheeler, your stopping distance is increased dramatically, like especially in wet conditions. When you slam in the brakes, you're going to basically travel the length of a football field before you actually come to a complete stop. Why? Because you're hauling 80,000 pounds worth of stuff. That's complete, well, like with a truck. A ship on water, it's nearly impossible. Like, it's pretty much impossible for you to stop on a dime, essentially. It's not going to happen. And when they say, oh, well, look at it turning, you don't know what's going on the ship, essentially. You act like they were, like, targeting this freaking bridge. They weren't. Like, nobody wants something like that to happen. So it's absolutely absurd that people think this stuff, but it's just the conspiracy nuts are out in force. And the fact that they're blaming Biden or Buttigieg for this is ridiculous. The second that this took place, like within 2 hours, like Pete Buttigieg was on vacation. He was on the phone talking, hey, what can we do to help you here? What can we do to supply us? Like, that's what he's doing, his freaking job. But people just want to blame him because, why? They don't like him. He's a Democrat. They don't like him because, they accuse him of being a DEI hire because he's a homosexual, which is ridiculous. The guy's an absolute brilliant person. He's not perfect, but my God, people didn't even know what Secretary of Transportation did until this administration took office, honestly.
True. No, and there's like the other thing is like there's also complaints that Biden hasn't visited yet. And I'm like, what the fuck is Biden going to do? Like, I get it. It makes it look like you care, right? Mm-hmm. But if a president goes and visits a site that is currently under construction or like there's been a disaster or whatever, it just makes everything worse at that site. Sure. Because of the security requirements, the number of people that show up, like all that stuff. And it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do any good. So why want it? Yeah. Like, I don't understand.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because, like, about a couple weeks ago, I was on my way back from making deliveries, right? And I came up to a state police had blocked off the road, and it was overlooking a highway. And like, was there an accident or something like that? Then I looked to my left, and I see a line of cars. Like, oh, I know what's going on. Biden's in town. Saying it's like there must have been at least like 40, police units in this convoy. Yeah. So, yeah, you're going to take away from, like, important, police work that's regarding this. So, I get why, Biden didn't show up to this. But people are like, oh, why hasn't he shown up yet? Why didn't he show up to East Palestine? Well, probably because people in East Palestine don't want to see the president, which is fine. That's entirely their choice. But I think it's better to not draw that attention and make it about himself, essentially. Now, obviously, it's good for optics in some cases, but not always. Sure. But, like, people are blaming Pete Buttigieg for Boeing. Boeing's a private industry. It's a private corporation. They're the ones that are, like, bypassing, like, we just talked about it last week tonight, covered that Boeing episode. I was like, I am never flying on a Boeing plane ever fucking again. I hate flying in general just because of the hassle. Not because I'm afraid of heights necessarily, but it's because I don't like the hassle. But this just makes me not want to fly a plane ever fucking again, honestly. But, people are just, they're focusing their attention in all the wrong directions. Why? Because it's easy for them to blame somebody about these things. Now, there are times like I know I'm a little bit of a partisan hack when it comes to certain things, but I try to be as correct as possible and making sure that my outrage is justified in the right direction. But this right here has nothing to do, like, this is like, I would definitely say that this is, a collision. I wouldn't say it's an accident because something failed, but I'm not going to say that it's intentional. The crew was not targeting this freaking pillar, for crying out loud.
No, I think it, like, and the only other thing I can think of is like maybe this port should have required tugboats since they're navigating through a bridge.
Yes,
but that's on the state at that point. Like, so the state fucked up maybe, but at the same time, how long has this bridge been in? How long has this port been in operation? How long has this bridge been there and nothing has happened without a tugboat?
Yeah,
like.
Well, hopefully this is actually going to instill like some new regulations to ensure this doesn't happen. Because, like, you made a very good point. I had never actually thought about this before. That, like, how many boats get through this port every day, every week, every year, essentially. Nobody ever thought something like this was going to happen. So why worry about it now? But when I first saw this video, I was like, oh, great, new fear unlocked. That's just like the first thing that came to mind. But like. When I saw the mayor of Baltimore hold a press conference, when I saw people attacking him, it's like, this guy's obviously a DEI hire because he was not wearing a suit and tie. It's 3 o'clock in the fucking morning, okay? The dude's probably like already shook enough as is. He was almost just like, listen, we're going to extend our prayers to everybody out there, which is like what everybody says. But the guy, obviously, you could tell that dude looked like he was worn the fuck out. Not just because of lack of sleep, but because this just happened. Like, this is going to affect his entire city for the next, until that bridge is built. Because I can tell you from experience, right, is when you go a certain route, right, when you're, let's say, for example, you're used to taking a QP to and from work, right? Let's say that road gets shut down for an indeterminate amount of time, and you got to take a detour to get to your destination, but it's going to take you like an extra 30 minutes, right? It's going to suck, right? Because it's completely altered the way things go. Now imagine that for logistics. That makes it even worse, because that means you got to plan your time to get there, because all truck drivers operate on a clock. You have a 14-hour workday essentially, and you can only drive for 10 hours at a time. That completely changes everything, because then you got to worry about what time you're going to be able to get to the top, to the place you're delivering to. What time? How many people are waiting in line? What's the queue looking like? Are you doing a drop and hook, which is basically like dropping the trailer and picking something else up? Are you actually doing a live unload and shit like that? All of this takes in consideration, and this makes things far more difficult, which I can't imagine what the mayor of Baltimore is thinking right now, because this is really fucking things up right now. So this is why people need to understand, is like, this is not an easy situation to encounter. And he's a young guy. He looks way younger than, like, he looks at least 10 years younger than me, at least.
Yeah, he's pretty young.
But like, I can't imagine what's going through his head right now. He's definitely got a monumental task ahead of him. But I just wish that people didn't treat this like, oh, this is the Biden administration's fault, because it's not. They didn't. But like, people are like, once again, like you said, people are just looking for conspiracies out there. I'm just like, you're a fucking idiot, honestly. That's just my point of view, though.
Yeah, and no, for sure. I also think it's just politics. They're gonna latch on to anything that will please their base, or get their base to be hateful of anybody on the other side. And this is one of those things. So. Yeah,
100%. Absolutely.
Is what it is.
Yeah. You want to go ahead? Do you have anything else on this one, or do you want to go ahead and move on to your last topic?
No, I think we're good. We can go on to the last topic.
Fantastic. What you got?
Yeah. So the other topic that I wanted to cover was the Trump Truth Social getting a IPO, and how that's gone through.
Sure.
So for people that don't know, Truth Social is now, you can invest in Truth Social. It's DJT, Donald Trump, DTJ, is it? I think it's called DJT, Truth Social. Yeah, is the stock ticker. The reason this came about so quickly is that Truth Social merged with another company that was set up specifically to be on the stock market, to get investors in it. It's called a SPAC, Special Access. I don't remember exact naming of it, but what the exact acronym stands for. But essentially, it's a company that is designed to be on the stock market so people can invest in it. And when they merged, their assets merged, and now Truth Social is on the S&P 500, or not the S&P 500, sorry. It's now on the stock market, and you can invest in Trump, right? The SPAC previously was worth roughly $42 a share, something along that lines or so. It was like Digital World Acquisition Corporation, DWAC, I think is what it was called. And they basically owned some other like social media assets, essentially. And within a few hours of going public, it topped out at $70 a share. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is, one, it's kind of weird that a company, the Truth Social, is now being valued higher than Reddit as far as market cap is concerned on there. I also find it very strange that this can just happen. You can just get onto the stock market through a merger that's like from a SPAC. But more importantly, and I think this is where the conversation can actually happen, is there is no rules against buying stock that will materially benefit a political candidate. Truth Social, Trump has supposed to have his shares locked up for 6 months upon the becoming public under its current corporation bylaws. However, those bylaws can be changed by the board of directors. And who's sitting on the board but Trump's children? And who's the president of the board? Donald Trump Jr. So there's all these people pouring money into this company. There's a bunch of people buying shares. I was thinking about it. I was really thinking about buying shares in it because I felt like it could about 50% or so when it went IPO'd and maybe tap out at about $80 a share. It hit 71 roughly, and then came back down to like $66 a share. Over the last week, it's only been on the stock market for a few days. But no, because Trump owns 64% of the company, and so any share that you buy is going to directly benefit him once he's able to dump his shares. And so that makes you think, who's going to invest in this? Is the FEC going to look at this to see if there's anything they can do to like stop foreign influence? No, because it's not illegal. Foreigners can buy American companies on the stock market. It's public. They can do that. So I just wanted to talk about it.
Sorry, I just had a few things pop up on the screen. So, as somebody that like fully supports like free market stuff, I just believe in strong regulations, whatnot. People can create and like invest in any social media app they want to. The fact that Trump did this is just how the free market works, essentially.
Sure.
I don't go on True Social whatsoever because I find him like a cancerous individual. I know. Here's the thing. I call Trump an idiot, but when it comes down to marketing, he is not an idiot. That dude is a marketing genius. Like I saw like when True Social first kicked off, it had a lot of problems kicking off because so many people were signing up to it. And I see that what he's doing here is that with people buying into like the stock right here, that just goes to show that this guy knows how to market his name. And it's not so much so like, I think like the FEC and like other organizations are going to see dollar signs. Even if they disagree with Trump, they're going to see dollar signs. It's like we can make a shit ton of money off this guy's name right now. Even if we disagree with him. Because like, if I was to start, let's say for example, hypothetically, I started a company that sold pro-Trump merchandise. I despise Trump. But people would buy it. Why? Because they love Donald Trump. I can make a shit ton of money off of that. I'm thinking dollar signs right now. So I see like this as a money-making opportunity for him while people give the money essentially. And like they say, oh yeah, if I invest into this, I'm going to make all kinds of money in return. Guess where Trump has also said something like this. You'll be a millionaire in no time. Trump University. I see this nothing more as a scam for him to make money while everybody else gets fucked over completely. That's the way I see this. 100%. And like, I don't necessarily see like Don Jr. as a guy that's looking to defend his dad. He's looking to make money as well. Why? Because, you know, I've read a lot of books about him. Growing up, him and Don Jr. and Donald Trump did not have a good relationship growing up. As a matter of fact, there was a few times where they were known to like hate each other and shout at each other and tell each other they hated each other. I mean, it's something that like was known to happen frequently. But Don Jr. is only doing this because he wants to maintain the good graces with his dad. That's probably why he's on the board here. Because he feels like, if I could do this, I can then take ownership of his name. I can then be the next Donald Trump, essentially. That's what he's looking at. I'm thinking he's thinking dollar signs because his dad is, what, 77 years old? Someday he's going to croak. And so,
no, I agree. I agree with that. It's just like with the shoes and everything else that he's doing. Like, those shoes are terrible. They're not good-looking shoes. But people want to invest in Trump. They want to signal that they're on Team Trump, and this is just another way for them to do that. The company, Truth Social, is not worth $61 a share. $60 a share, which is what it's sitting at right now. It's not worth that. Truth Social, I think, has made like $3 million in its existence, or like had $3 million in revenue over the last year.
Yep.
That's nothing. Reddit has hundreds of millions of revenue. Reddit, I'm going to look up the ticker now on I think it's RDDT, because I was going to buy some Reddit shares. I like meme stocks sometimes. Yeah, Reddit is sitting at it's sitting at $48 a share right now, right? And then Reddit revenue 2023 is $90.8 million. It is It is like it is 30 times the amount of revenue that Trump has, and it's not trading as much as Trump's stuff is. So like, you're gonna lose your money if you invest in this and you don't get out during the pump and dump. You're gonna lose your money, and the pump is already somewhat. I mean, it's happened. It hits. I was almost right on the money. It hit 70. Hold on, I'll tell you exactly what the high was. It hit $77.27. So, and now it's sitting at like 60, right, and it started at like 48. So, I don't know, like, but the thing with the foreign investors, though, I think that's where the story is actually going to really shine through with it. So,
sure, but again, it's just like the name Trump. That's what people are buying into. They think this is going to be like a huge success, but this is like why like. As somebody that's like read more about like how Trump became successful, it's because of like one person that was his fixer, Roy Cohn. That's how he became, because his dad used Roy Cohn to make all the connections. And then when, Fred Trump died, Trump then went to Roy Cohn. Why? Because he was reliable. He's a guy that can make anything happen. All the connections that he had was because of Roy Cohn. When Roy Cohn died, he's never had anybody that's been nearly as successful as that. Now, there have been some business opportunities that he's had that have been successful, but it's been very, very few and far between. For example, his casinos have failed. Trump University failed. Trump Vodka failed. Trump Steaks failed. Trump Airlines fucking failed, for crying out loud. I mean, it's just like, this is just another business venture that people are going to buy into because they trust the name Trump. Because, and I predicted when he got elected president, I said whenever he leaves office, he's going to be more valuable because of his name, because he was president, than ever before. And I've actually been proven correctly on this. Yeah. He is worth so much fucking money, but he will tell you, "Oh, I need your help. Invest in Donald Trump. This is a witch hunt." People are going to buy into that shit. Now, people can do whatever the fuck they want to with their money. It's their choice. I'm just going to say, I wouldn't give that guy a fucking dime, because you're not going to see that money. I mean, you could say, I'm going to give Donald Trump $1,000. He's not going to fucking remember you. You might get a thank you note, but that's about it. He probably signs dozens of those a day and shit. But it's just, people are buying stock into this because it's like that emotional attachment they feel they have to Trump. And that is frightening to think. This is why I say it's a cult. I mean, just people bought, but those fucking NFTs, useless. Fucking useless.
But that's another thing. The NFTs were bought by a lot of foreigners too to try to, like, I really think that's what most of this is, right? There hasn't been any trading on the secondary market with NFTs, but there's been a lot of people that are like, hey, I want Trump to be president, that bought into him. Mm-hmm. Now media's sucked on some of this reporting too. The guy that bought the signed Trump sneakers for like $9,000 or whatever, he's actually like an American, not a Russian oligarch, and he runs like a luxury thing, and he just wanted some like weird shoes. I don't even know if the guy likes Trump. Like, I was reading into it, I'm like, oh, well, I don't want to report on this now. Yep. Like, not because I wanted to like besmirch the guy or whatever. It's just like, this is like a non-story that, which is another problem. But yeah, I really do think that that's what's driving this, though. Not just what you're saying is true as well. Like, it's a lot of people that just want to invest in Trump, that want to have that emotional attachment, to live vicariously through, all us streamers that make money in any streaming that people give us bits. It's the same kind of thing. They want to see us succeed because they like it. The same thing. But at the end of the day, it's going to be really interesting to see how many people invested in that company to have influence over Trump and the company. Oh yeah. And who is it? Who's coming back to Team Trump? Who is the guy? Manafort. Manafort's coming back to Team Trump.
Really?
As well. Yeah, that's what I've read. Manafort. Hold on, I think so. That's whole nother thing. Yeah. Talks to return to Trump campaign for conventions. Yeah. Trump 2044. Manafort and talks to return to Trump campaign for convention.
That is insanity.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but like, it's like
all coming up.
Like, when it comes to running businesses, he sucks. But when it comes to marketing, he's fucking brilliant. I mean, it's just like, he's able to get so many people to buy into his shit. I mean, I pretty much look at the same thing as like that Twitch streamer Amaranth, who sells her yeast into beer, people are going to buy that shit. She knows that the market's out there for people to buy that shit. Trump knows. Sure. Trump could put his name on a sex toy and people will buy that shit. The most diehard.
Why'd you put that in my head, man? That's gross.
I'm sorry, but
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But like,
I can handle it. It's that's
like even evangelical.
Get it, Grandma.
But like,
okay, I'm done.
But like, yeah, well, like, but I mean, for fuck's sake, the guy's now selling Bibles, and he says, we put Lee Graywood and myself, we put the Constitution, the Pledge of Allegiance, things he's never fucking read before, but because he knows it's gonna sell. Trump could literally throw anything, like, this is an empty can, it's got Trump's name on it, who wants to buy it? Some jackass in bumfuck Arkansas is like, I gotta buy that right now because it has Trump's name on it. Like, that's what he does with marketing. He feels like his name has more value than the product he's actually fucking selling. It's snake oil salesman 101.
Yeah, he's a used car salesman. I don't understand how people don't understand this. I think that they do, but they like him because they say he says what they want to hear. I think that's what it boils down to. Like, lie to me, but you're fighting for me kind of thing, right? And is he really though? No, but people feel like he is. I don't know. It's just all kinds of sad to me.
Yeah, it's
all kinds of sad. You will not see me simping for a politician like this.
No,
you'll not
never
see me doing that.
No, of course not. I mean, like, people ask me, I was like, "Are you voting for Biden?" I was like, "Yeah." Do you like him?
Yeah.
He's my president. I mean, do I love him? No, I don't love any politician. Honestly, there are some politicians out there that I think are a lot more fucking badass. Like, there are some I was like, "Damn, that's fucking badass." Like Jasmine Crockett, I think she's fucking awesome. I like her. But do I?
Duckworth is good too.
Yep. Who?
Duckworth. Same Duckworth.
Oh, Tammy Duckworth. I love Tammy Duckworth.
Yeah.
You know, like, but the thing is, like, people need to understand is, like, I don't think any one person should be worshipped. That's frightening. And, like, I don't think any one president is, like, should be heralded as this apostle or messiah. That's insanity. I said that even when Obama was, like, people's like, he's the messiah. No. That's absurd thinking. But this cult following that Trump has is, like, beyond, like, anything I've ever seen. And the fact that so many people are buying into this just goes to show he's got that marketing acumen. People buy into it, even though it's like, I will never understand it. I think it's ridiculous. Like, why do fucking people buy this shit? But it's just like, am I jealous? Not really, because, you know, I'll put it like this. Would I be willing to, like, make that kind of money off of, like, somebody's name that I couldn't stand? Sure. Will I do it? Probably not, because I suck at marketing, essentially. But, like, I just, it's this worship that I worry about. That's why, like, if I see him, like, the fact that he's running for office again and so many people are still behind him is frightening to me, honestly. I worry about that. Like, how far is this worship is going to go? Like I remember at one point when Mitt Romney, like, the most controversial thing he said was like 47% of Americans rely on the government too much. They're just a bunch of suckers. People were losing their shit over that. Trump is, like, way fucking worse. But people fucking just are sold on him. I don't get it.
It's because he wants to build a wall.
Oh, he also wants to be a dictator for a day, which people are like, oh, he was just being hyperbolic. He's even said, I don't care.
Yeah, people are also like, he should be a dictator for a day. Like, we need a dictator. Like, what?
That goes against everything I stand for, 100%. I don't think anybody should be a dictator for a day. A day, a week, a month, a year, a minute. If the second you say dictator, you lose me.
Yeah.
You lose me.
You think those Trump Bibles, those leather-bound Trump American jingoist Christian nationalist Bibles are going to have resale value, though?
I don't know.
You think you're going to see them in people's political collections at some point?
You will. Some people are going to hold them as collections, essentially. But, okay, you remember the Street Fighter movie?
Yeah.
Okay, you remember Bison Dollars? Eventually, it's going to get so bad for Trump. Like, I would love to see where, like, it becomes worthless and people are trying to sell it, but they can't. Like, that's the way I look at it. But it's just, if Trump could create his own currency, he would. Like, he would. Yeah, like, I have no doubt that he would definitely do it, and people would buy into it. Like, I have a $20 Donald Trump. I'm going to sell it for $59.99. People are going to buy that shit. Like, just because, like,
There's already Trump coins.
yeah,
Trump gold coins, I think, is a thing. The NFTs were a thing.
mm-hmm.
I think he made a Trump cryptocurrency.
Yep.
They come in 10 packs on Amazon. You can buy Trump coins. Trump crypto.
Well, again, like, when it comes down to, like, the free market, if people want to buy into it, that's their money. I'm just gonna look at you like you're stupid, honestly. Like, that's the way I look at it. But, you know, I just, if you create a commodity or a service or a product that people want and they buy it, I've got no say in that. I might be questioning it. Like, there are some things that I don't think should be sold, but it's not for me to decide. The market share determines these things. And if people say, well, I'm not going to buy this anymore, that's entirely your decision as well. That's why, like, there are certain YouTube platforms I don't subscribe to and watch because I don't want to watch that shit. There are certain items that I won't buy because I don't want to buy it. It's that simple. It's so easy, but, like, so many people want shit canceled because it makes them upset, which I think is ridiculous. Like, boycott Bud Light. Why? Because a social media influencer drank one can, you're gonna cancel it? Are you fucking stupid?
Yeah, that's hilarious. Oh man, anybody, guys, if you want to make some quick money, just trade against every conservative boycott. 6 months it'll go back up in price. Like, Bud Light's gone up like 30% since the boycott, like something like that.
That's what I heard, actually. But it's just like people.
I can actually look it up because I bet against it.
Really?
So. Yeah.
I see. The thing is, I don't know anything about, like, stock market or investing and shit like that. I know absolutely nothing about stuff like that. I'll be honest. I'm kind of a moron when it comes to stuff like this. like when people, like, buy into stuff, it's like, I don't understand. I don't get it.
I mean, some of this is like with something like this, just do it in your IRA, and you're not gonna actually lose much money. What is it? I can tell you exactly. And I didn't buy many shares. I only bought like 5. Like, I'm tooting my horn on this that I was right, but I didn't bet much money. Did I sell it? I might have sold it all. Oh, I did. I sold all my Bud shares. I can just look up the price now. Must have auto sold on me. Oops. But trade. Go back. No, sorry. I know this is off topic. It doesn't
really matter. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. But yeah, like, it's just, I pretty much, like, made my point in this, but, like, I think that the person that's, like, running those shares, you know, Don Jr., I see right through him. I know exactly what he's up to. It's not because he cares about his father. It's just he cares about the name. That's it. he's waiting. Enough. He's waiting. He's waiting for his dad to expire. So, but yeah. Anyway, before we close the shop, is there any other topics, like anything last minute, or any questions you want to ask me or something like that?
No, I think we did a pretty good show, man. I think.
Oh, fantastic! So, before we close out, though, you want to give one last shout out or one last plug for yourself?
Sure. So everybody, my name is Cypher. I create content under the moniker of Cypher Report. I try to do it weekly. The episode that I'm currently working on is all the things that are going on with TikTok and ByteDance. Everybody's just a long story short with my I've done and things I've discovered. Everybody sucks in this. Everybody's a little bit right and they're a little bit wrong. So if you're thinking that we shouldn't ban TikTok at all because that's all bullshit, you're wrong. If you're thinking that we should ban TikTok because it's all right, well, you're also wrong. And it's actually very complicated. I was supposed to have it released this week, and I've actually waffled on what I think should happen with it because of how complicated it actually is with their corporate structure. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to check out my channel, Cypher Report, on YouTube. We're also on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and Mastodon and all the other places under similar name, Cypher Report. So
fantastic. I actually covered the TikTok topic a few weeks ago, actually. So, but it really is kind of complicated. But anyway, so Anthony, I appreciate this hour and 20 minutes that we spent together. This was a great topic, great show once again. Thank you so much. And everybody, be sure to tune in next Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for my next guest. And I hope everybody enjoys the rest of the weekend. Y'all take care now.
Thank y'all.